Mother, Star Mother, you who are called by 1,000 names, may all remember that we are cells in your body, and we dance together. You are the grain and the loaf that sustains us each day. And as you are patient with our struggles to learn, so shall we be patient with one another and with ourselves. We are radiant light and sacred dark, the balance. You are the embrace that heartens and freedom beyond fear. Within you, we are born. We grow, we live, and we die. You bring us around the circle to rebirth. Within us, you dance forever.
If you could please rise. Our church shares a covenant that we make with one another, a promise that helps to remind us of why we gather and how we want to be with one another. Join me in saying our covenant together. We unite
to strengthen the bonds of kinship among all persons, to promote human dignity, and to increase reverence of the life's creating, sustaining, and transforming power through worship, study, and service.
Please remain standing for our opening hymn, Chant of the Seasons.
I'd like to invite Bill Huber and Judy Ball and Lisa Christensen and Doree, Brian up here, and Jerome is off gallivanting with his backpack and his tent in Michigan this weekend, but he'll be thanked too. These folks are the folks who led us through our interim process over the previous 2 years. And I want to take a minute to thank them and to acknowledge what it took to do this. First of all, to do this requires that you be loved and trusted by our community, and nothing could be truer than that about these 4 folks and Jerome. And it also requires a long commitment, so they know going into the 2 years that they're going to have 2 years of organizing and thinking and talking and herding of the Unitarian cats. If there were time, I would tell a UU joke about how many UUs does it take to change a light bulb that I saw Allison had posted. Anyway, you know that we have a lot to say and a lot to think and a lot of things to offer, and they managed to take us through so many different meetings to understand our values and what we were seeking and how we need to grow as an organization, as a congregation. So I wanted to take a minute to thank them for leading us and for enduring some wordsmithing that some of us, like me, we tend to do ad nauseum, even uninvited. And because of them, because of them, we have the new mission statement that's at the back of your order of worship. And that is to create belonging, inspire curiosity, and heal our world. It's wonderful, right, Natalie? Yeah. And so, and that led to the spawning of a group that we'll also recognize in the future, the Identity Team. And I think Elizabeth Van Orden was on there. And that led to the choice of our logo and the colors here. So this has been a lot of work, and it has really put us in a good spot for understanding what really matters to you and what you want from our community and what you want from the world. So I just wanted to give a little round of applause for our interim team. Thank you so much. And I have for each of you, one of them is unwrapped. We'll give it to Jerome, but it's a little paperweight that says "Go out and put good things into the world." So, because some of us still like paper.
Now it's time for our Wonderbox time of the service. Our service today is we're going to have a story that's going to be up on the screen. So if you want to stay in your seats, you can do that. You could probably see it better. If you want to come up, you can do that as well. But first, we're going to wonder a minute. We're still going to have something in the Wonderbox. So I want you to just take a few seconds and think about what you know about today and what might possibly be in this box. Okay, is there anybody that wants to give a guess? Do I have any of our children that can raise your hand really high if you have a guess what might be in the Wonderbox? No, I see. Any adults want to wish? Okay. Lisa, what's your guess? An exclamation point. Thank you, because it was a question mark last week. Any other? A level. Okay, that would be a good guess. Yes. Pumpkin spice. Yes. Yes.
Autumn leaf.
Autumn leaf. Okay. Do any of our little people want to come up and open up the box and see what's in there? Okay, come on up. Yay. Thanks so much. Yes, it is an autumn leaf because, why? Do you remember? It's the fall equinox, which means it's the beginning of fall, officially today. So we have a fun little story that we're going to listen to that's all about fall.
By the Light of the Harvest Moon by Harriet Ziefert. Illustrations by Mark Jones. The harvest moon shines tonight. Everyone is still at work on Apple Hill Farm. The corn is ripe since late summer, and the men and boys carry the last of it in burlap bags to the corn crib. Around midnight, One weary farmer crosses the road and walks slowly towards his house. He will try to sleep, though the harvest moon still shines brightly. The cows and the sheep stand very still. They stare up at the orange-yellow ball, which floats at the bottom of the sky like a big, round balloon. The animals talk to the moon, but she does not answer their low moos and high-pitched baas. The wind speaks, softly at first, then louder. Swish, swish. She delivers gusty blasts of air over the fields and farmhouse. Orange, yellow, and crimson leaves swirl and twirl and dance in the sky until a cloud of leaves settles in the pumpkin patch. When the gusts subside, leaf people emerge from the pile. First come grown-ups, then come children, and then pets. The leaf people find a clearing and begin decorating tables with maple leaf placemats, golden mums, and pumpkin centerpieces. Shh, hurry before the children return, says a mother in a red dress. While the grown-ups prepare, the children play on a nearby hillside. They bob for apples, juggle acorns, string popcorn necklaces, and weave wreaths of gold and rust-colored leaves. The best game of all is stacking pumpkins. One boy says, "I can stack 6 pumpkins." "I can stack 10, boasts another. "Watch that it doesn't topple over," warns a child. Too late, all the pumpkins roll down, down, down the hill. "Catch them, stop them," the children shout. They chase the runaway pumpkins down, down, down the hill, right into the middle of a party! A dessert party! Surprise! Sing the mothers and fathers, aunts and uncles, grandmas and grandpas. A grandma gathers the children around. Today is the autumnal equinox. The hours of daylight and darkness are equal, and fall begins. Fruits, vegetables, and grains are harvested. Leaves turn the colors of jewels, and we get to eat pie! Everyone laughs. Then they feast on the sweetest treats from the fall harvest: pumpkin, apple, pear, and pecan pies. Under the light of the moon, a daddy raises his glass of cider and toasts the new season. When the last bite of pie is eaten, the leaf people pack everything up, join hands, and wait. Hold on, children. There is still fun to be had. The moon closes its eyes and goes to sleep, but the wind awakens from its slumber and delivers gusty blasts of air. Swish, swish. The wind blows the leaf people out of the clearing, out of the pumpkin patch, and into the crisp, moonlit night. The next morning, the sun shines on Apple Hill Farm. The farmer is in the farmhouse, the cows and sheep are in the barn, and the leaves are in the pumpkin patch. Everything is in its place. If you look carefully, you will know the leaf people were there.
Children to go to their, well, not to the class, but to go with Debbie, and you're going to do something really fun today, I promise. We'll sing our kids off to their events.
Most of us dream of having an impact on our community, It is challenging to have that impact alone, but together with generosity of spirit, financial gifts, time, and love, we build on the mission we envision. The offering will now be gratefully received.
I'm going to take you all now on a guided meditation, if you will join me. First, I'm going to invite you just to take a deep breath in, a breath out. Allow any energy and anxiety and tension just drain down into the rich earth below. And then I'm going to invite you to imagine, with your eyes closed, that you're sitting in a field. Feel the air around you as it passes over your skin. If you want to, take off your shoes and press your feet into the earth. How does it feel? Is it cool or is it still hot from the summer sun yesterday? Press your feet into that rich earth and then start listening to what's going on all around you. Maybe you hear rain. Maybe you hear wind blowing or other people shouting, laughing, some people talking quietly, some traffic far off in the distance. Everything you hear is part of the life of the land. You are part of the life of the land. Take a moment to breathe that in. Feel the pulse of the land beneath your feet. Feel how it reaches up and pulses into you. Take a moment to feel how it pulses through you, through the person next to you, through everything around you. And even imagine how that pulse might go into the plants that you feel around you in the field. Now, imagine you're standing in the middle of a wheat field. Each sheaf is very tall. It's tallest than the tallest person around you. And you have a row all to yourself. And through the pulse of the earth, feel your companions standing in all their rows. Just all together, feeling that pulse of the earth below us. And then a breeze blows through the wheat, causing a ripple from the grain to grain all across the field. You see it as one stalk knocking into another, bending back upright again. In the wind you hear whisper, "This is how it feels. This is how it feels." Now impressions are coming to you of a seed buried deep in the earth. You are that seed. You feel hot and moist and dark, and each drop of moisture, each touch of pleasant warmth makes you feel more and more expansive, until at last you burst free, raising up your body to find the sun. In this space, reaching for the sun, you feel vulnerable. Loving warmth can become too hot, too close, and the cooling rain that comes and that you breathe in and out according to the subterranean beat suddenly keeps coming, more that you could drink. And you start to feel like your roots loosen up. And again, there's a sense of vulnerability. Who do you call for protection? But then the rain stops, and you find that you have grown stronger and taller. And the wind blows, and you bend, but you do not break. And the rain comes, and you tighten your roots in the soil, and you drink deeply, and you raise up to the crown of your being, and continue growing and growing, with the top of your crown always reaching to the rays of the sun. But then one day, you find yourself preoccupied. You've grown as much as you can, and now you are expanding. You are extending. Your body changes, and in a burst of relief, seeds drop from your stalks. Sweet children stemming from you that will, in heat and moisture, someday on their own burst from the ground. And you feel the satisfaction of being done. Then you feel a little less heat and a little from the sun and a little more rain, and you're tired. And you wish you could just rest. And rather than standing tall anymore, you want to lie flat on the ground as it cools and tightens under the burden of frost. This is as it should be. And I invite you to come back to yourself, still standing in the fields, because you see all around you the wheat is lying on the ground. The harvest came and the reapers moved by you as you communed with the grain. Look around. See your companions standing in rows of wheat. Feel a sense of completion, the hard work that went into making that field flat, and yet more hard work to come, converting it to the things that you need to survive the winter. From somewhere beneath you, you hear a voice whispering, "Remember this feeling." Take a moment and ask, who are you? Take a moment to let the mother of the grain tell you who she is. Now come back into this time and space. Wiggle your top fingers and your toes. Take a deep, refreshing breath and open your eyes. You are part of the earth. I'm going to invite you to a time of joys and concerns, sharing those things that happen in the life of this congregation. If you have anything that comes into your life, you're welcome. You can go on our website under the Pastoral Care tab, and there's a form you can fill out to share anything going on with this church that you want us to know. We send love and healing wishes to our new board member and frequent usher, Nancy Frank. She had a little bit of brush with the ER last weekend, but she's doing better, and her and her wife Cindy were able to go on their trip to Alaska. We're very happy for them and hope they have a great time. And we send love and care to Marta, who was our religious education manager. She's decided that she's going to continue taking care of herself and remain a part of this church, as was her original intention. but no longer serve as our religious education manager. We send her so much love and care and let her know that she will be a wonderful part of this congregation, even if she's no longer teaching our children. For all the other intentions that remain in the secret sanctuary of our hearts this morning, know that you are held and loved. Please join in singing Spirit of Life seated in your chairs.
The sun on its journey through the wheel of the year reaches a point of balance. The corn is gathered in, the middle harvest of fruit hangs ready for picking. The time of daylight and the time of darkness rest against one another, and day will yield its year's work done. All is fulfilled and rest approaches. Let us celebrate the harvest, give thanks to Mother Earth for the bounty. The horn of plenty, cornucopia, is full. Let the ground rest, clear away what has died and process it back to the elements and so to earth. The wheel turns on through rest to the birth of life again, and we who follow the wheel through the year, let us pause. This is the time for reflecting on the year of our life. This is a time for preparation for peace and a time of rest. Look back at the equinox of spring. What did we sow and what have we reaped? What plants have borne fruit and what has not grown? Rejoice in the positive and take what has failed to be burnt on the fire of experience. Leave the way clean and clear and ready for a new year returning. The nights close in, the focus of life comes in from the summer to gather round the hearth and talk. Time to rest, a time to plan, a time to prepare the mind, thinking of what needs to be done, how life can be improved. A time to turn to learning and crafting, a time of gentle preparation. It is a time of celebration and thanksgiving. This is Mabon. Thus ends the reading. There is a responsive reading that, good. I want you to read what says R. I, who am the beauty of the green earth and the white moon among the stars and the mysteries of the waters.
I call upon your soul to arise and come unto me.
For I am the soul of nature that gives life to the universe. Let my worship be in the heart that rejoices, for behold, all acts of love and pleasure are my rituals.
Let there be beauty and strength, power and passion,
And you who seek to know me, know that your seeking and yearning will avail you not unless you know the mystery.
For that which you seek, you find not within yourself, you'll never find it.
For behold, I have been with you from the beginning.
So good to be here with you today. Have you all been paying attention to the weather lately? It's been warm, huh? I think everybody I saw coming in today was smiling because it's finally cooler and finally rain after such a long time. If you look around, you see kind of a brownish tinge in everything because it's been so dry. And there are golds and yellows in the fields, and all of the green is kind of fading. And we're waiting for those bright reds and golds that we hope will come this year. And did any of you happen to get outside to see the super harvest moon with the partial eclipse on Tuesday? That was cool. It has been so bright all week that I'd wake up in the middle of the night and just see that light coming in the room. It's been amazing. But this week, as you've probably figured out this far into the service, marks the autumnal equinox, the time in the astronomical calendar when there's 12 hours of daylight and 12 hours of night. And there are all sorts of calendars out there, but in the Western ones, this officially marks the beginning of fall. Finally, pumpkin spice. Although we have had it since July, haven't we? And finally, the apples really taste good. Yay. But in the witches' calendar, in the pagan calendar, the wheel of the year, this is the end of the year. It's a time of letting go. It's a time of preparing for the dark months that are coming up ahead of us. Because you all know what's coming. The days get shorter and shorter and shorter until eventually we've hit Yule, that longest night of the year. But let's not jump to there yet. Let's stay right here. Today we're celebrating the bounty of our gardens, the bounty that we see overflowing in the farmers markets or grocery stores. And we're celebrating maybe, I hope, a summer that was well spent, a summer that we got to do some fun things, that we got to enjoy ourselves a little bit. And maybe the end of baseball and softball schedules, maybe things just either spiritually or energetically or even financially, we're just taking that assessment and seeing, have we gathered enough in to last us through till the dark days ahead? The interesting thing about Mabon is a time when we focus on lessening, of letting go, of offering gratitude for all that we've received, but on deciding what we can give up, what we can sacrifice in order to be able to make it all the way through to the springtime. I think that's a concept we don't think about very much in today's modern world, sacrifice. I mean, we can have strawberries all year round. Someplace, Florida, California, Chile, Peru, some places still growing strawberries. And we don't have to worry about when they're in season and maybe only get to have that delicious taste for 2 weeks. We can have them all the time. So what does sacrifice really have to do with our lives these days? Well, I grew up Roman Catholic, so I knew about sacrifice. No meat on Fridays, fasting for at least an hour before you took communion, giving up stuff for Lent and for Advent, sacrificing something good for God. And I was so relieved when I left that culture behind and thought, I don't have to do that anymore. That's anachronistic. What kind of God would want to make their people unhappy? And we are so happy these days, aren't we? We have everything we might need deliverable from Amazon in a mere 24 hours or less. We have the ability to connect with people all across the world. We get to have 700 of our closest friends on social media keep tabs on us. We have all of that and still a whole lot of misery in the world. maybe having to sacrifice something actually made us appreciate the things we did have. Maybe not tasting chocolate for 40 days made it taste so much sweeter on Easter morning. Maybe it wasn't as goofy as I thought. But I do love that Mabon kind of goes into that same way of celebrating what's good, celebrating the balance of life, balancing hunger with fullness, busyness with rest, gathering with solitude. It's a season that invites introspection, and taking account of what is happening and figuring out what I really need instead of what I just want. It's not just a pagan or a witchy thing, though. We find harvest celebrations and times of taking assessments like all across the world. The Jewish folks will be celebrating Sukkot right after the high holidays. The Yu people of Ghana celebrate the end of the rainy season and the first appearance of yams in August or early September. Small dolls made from rice stalks representing dewy cereal are placed in granaries as offerings in Bali during the rice festival. All around the world, we take time to just grateful for what is, to be grateful, and to think about what we need in order to move forward. I mean, you all remember the story of Persephone, right? How many people remember? I remember Persephone. I didn't remember the story all the way. I did have to look it up, I will confess. I mean, I remembered she was stolen by the god of the underworld, Hades. And he fell in love with her, so what do gods do in the old days? They go abduct you when they fall in love with you. So he took her down to Hades, and Persephone's mom was Demeter. And Demeter was the goddess of the harvest. And Demeter got so mad that she let everything die. Everything turned dark, and all the plants, everything died back, and the gods got really worried. They weren't worried about the humans. They were worried there was nobody left to worship them anymore. So they went down to talk to Hades, and they said, no, you have to let her go. But unfortunately, while she was down there, Persephone had eaten a few pomegranate seeds. And if you eat anything while you're in the underworld, the rule is that you can't come out anymore. But the gods were so insistent that Hades finally said, okay, she can go back up for 6 months out of the year. So while Persephone was in the underworld, everything gets dark and dies back. And then when she comes back up to the light, that's springtime and everything starts growing. And so that's the story about why we have the seasons according to the Greeks. But there are so many stories like that, stories explaining the cycles of life, explaining the seed and then the growth and then the abundance and fruiting and then the dying back for a time of rest. And for a long time, humans could see those things. They could see those cycles all around them and in their own lives. They could see how they were born, how they learned and grew, how they bore children and grandchildren and then passed along this life to the next generation. How they knew themselves as beings embedded in the cycles of the seasons. Our ancestors knew themselves as fully connected to the earth. They learned from nature and they gave back in thanks, which is really far from where a lot of us are these days, isn't it? There are only a very few family farms left. Only 100 years ago, at the turn of the last century, over 95% of people in this country lived on a family farm. I found that statistic amazing. And even in the 40s, average Americans got more than 40% of their food that they lived on from their own gardens or from somebody close by. You know, we don't live like that. We had a huge garden, maybe, 3%, 5%. We couldn't live off that garden, at least not a whole year. And when you're living off of the earth, you pay close attention to it, and you know what's going on outside and how that's going to affect your life. But even our big agri-farmers right now are sitting in air-conditioned tractors and using technology to figure out when they should plant things rather than just, feeling the breeze on their cheek or watching what the birds are doing. So most of us or many of us, feel cut off from that interconnected web of life, web of being. And a person can live their whole life, maybe in air conditioning and heating, staying in their car, and never stop to look up and see the moon. Never stop to see what's actually happening this week. And I really think that that explains a lot of the angst that we have and that we see all around us in the world. Because I see there's such a deep dissatisfaction with the way things are, and some longing for a mythical time when life was good. Make blank great again. And while I sometimes don't agree with how other people come to what they need, I totally can sympathize with that feeling of longing, that feeling in my body that I want to know I am connected to something larger than my own small self, that I belong, that I should be here on this earth. I long for that feeling as well, and I think humans have longed for that for longer than we might know. Because there's a Sufi creation tale, and it goes that God was walking around admiring everything they made and just thinking how awesome it was, but they wanted somebody else to tell them how awesome it was too. So they figured that since everything was God, they needed some part of creation to forget. And so God walked around and he said to the mountains, "Hey, will you forget?" And the mountains said, "No." And he asked the trees, and the trees said, "Uh-uh." And he went and asked the birds and the animals, and they all said, "No, can't. We're not going to do that." He even got to the lizards and the insects, and even they refused. But when God came up to man, he said, "Will you forget that you're part of this creation?" And man said, "Sure." I think we've always been a little bit behind the curve, because man didn't realize how much he'd be giving up. The deep knowing that we are entangled in an interconnected web of existence. It's why Sufi worship is called zikr, because zikr simply means to remember who we are, to remember that we cannot be separated from this earth in which we come out of. And it makes sense to me right now that we are so far disconnected from the earth that there's so much sadness and grief and dissatisfaction with life. We've come to believe that humans are the pinnacle of creation, while also falling into deep despair. We have everything at our fingertips, but we can't remember our true nature. We believe ourselves to be above, so we cannot be with. I think one of the most promising and powerful messages from Mabon is that we exist within the cycles of the earth, that we are not above or beyond, that none of us make it out of alive, and that's okay. And today, as the days begin to shorten, we might take just a little bit of time to figure out what it means to be human in this particular day and age. When we look around and see things not going so well, so many angry and divided people around us. And I think the thing that we can do is to tell a different story. And to really pay attention to that we may have the ability to stay warm or cool or full all the time, but maybe we should pay attention to what it might be not to be like that way. Because I know this person, and they were searching to heal from some really traumatic childhood. And they did a whole bunch of different therapies, and they read dozens of self-help books, and they tried both Eastern and Western healing modalities, and they still couldn't get the peace they were seeking. But then they found a shaman who advised them to strip away all the comforts of modern life. They were told to take showers every day, cold showers every day, to fast a few days a week, and to set their thermostat just a little bit off from the way they liked it. And first it was really hard, especially the cold showers. But as time went on, they began to notice something. Feeling uncomfortable wasn't that terrible. They could do it pretty easily after a short while. And when they were able to be physically uncomfortable, they began to be able to sit with the really hard emotions and feelings that they'd been avoiding in trying to do that healing work. And it didn't cure everything, just living harder, but it did offer some big shift in the way they lived their life, and it marked a turning point in their ability to face hard things. Because at some level, I think we've been sold a bill of goods by those who have something to sell us. We've been told we should never have to wait, we never have to feel bad, we never have to be uncomfortable. And if we are, then something's wrong, and somebody has something to sell you to make you feel better, to fix that. And I believe it's a lie, that life is uncomfortable, that it's full of challenges that don't stop coming at us. The roof will leak, a bone will break, a job will suddenly go away, somebody we love will die, and that's life. It's also amazing and generous and abundant and filled with wonder. It's this and that all at the same time. It's the supermoon the other night. And we have a choice every day to pay attention to those balancing things. We can be disappointed. Disappointment is just fine. But we also can observe that we exist within a swirling chaos of life, of all kinds of possibilities. And sometimes we can simply enjoy the ride. Our ancestors knew how precious it was to make it to the end of a summer season and know they had enough food to last through the coming winter. They honored the forces which made that possible, and they celebrated together. And then those other times when something bad had happened and there was not going to be enough food to last, they still were present to life, and they mourned together. They lived in the present moment and found joy amidst hardship and connection, even in loss. On this endpoint of the wheel of the year, the day of balance between shadow and light, I invite you to imagine what you really need to last through these next months. Do you have enough? Do you have enough friends? Do you have enough solitude? Do you make space in your life every day to wonder at the natural world, to follow its rhythms, and to soothe your soul with that beat, with that pulse that goes through everything on earth? Is there any way that you can find to lessen on this Mabon holiday? Maybe take away an obligation. Maybe feel a little hunger once in a while so that you don't immediately fill. Maybe put on a sweater rather than adjusting the thermostat. Because sometimes it's in denial that we learn contentment. In fasting that we figure out what it means to be full. And in having less that we come to appreciate all the blessings that we already have. Those darn Catholics, they might have known something after all. It's not easy, but it may be one of the best gifts we ever give ourselves. So, happy Mabon. Let us welcome the returning darkness, knowing, trusting that we're going to find our way through, trusting that the light will return. Amen, and blessed be.
Oh
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of its truth, the warmth of this community, nor the fire of our commitment. These we carry in our hearts and share with all the world. Please rise in spirit or body and sing our closing hymn, number 68, Give Thanks.
Light-filled days behind us and the darkening days ahead, we give thanks. For the harvest, learnings, and beauty of life that still surround us in fading vibrance, we give thanks. For the turning of the wheel, the wisdom in decrease, the liberation of release, and the promise of winter's rest, we give thanks. Go out today, claiming your place in this wondrous world and trusting enough in this moment.
We've broken